That's me anyway. I got a studio in my house.
I don't fuck a lot about music, but you know, I can see somebody doing that. They know what they're doing.
Seriously. Milli Vanilli, you heard of Milli Vanilli? The same thing, you know, I'm on it. Just...
And we're back between Yetis with Captain Anthony. How are you doing, sir?
Very good.
Welcome to Between Yetis.
Well, thank you. It's nice to have the invite.
And we're at the Benetti YachtMaster.
The Benetti YachtMaster, it's the 18th edition. I've been fortunate enough to be part of 4 or maybe 5 of them in the last 10 years. So.
And are you the only non-Italian here?
Well, I believe I could be. I'm not so sure. But yeah.
All right. But you are a bona fide captain.
I am a bona fide captain, yeah. I hold a M.C.A. certified 3,000-ton master's license. I've had that for quite a few years. So
3,000 tons gets you up to what size?
Probably 450, maybe 500 feet at a stretch.
So big enough. You don't need to.
Yeah, big enough for yachting. The new bigger yachts that are coming out, they're doing them over 100 metres, 120 metres. They're looking for unlimited masters for that. So, but for mine, for what I do, it's more than adequate.
So what is your boat?
I run at the moment a Benetti. It's a 125-foot motor yacht delivered in 2017. It's called Constance Joy. It's very recognisable because it's got a Ferrari red hull. She's painted Ferrari red.
I've never seen her.
No, I hadn't seen it until I actually... It's bright red, yeah, bright red.
Wow.
Yeah, we were in the Miami show, and that was the first time I saw her when I joined at the Miami show.
Okay.
But I thought initially, well, but after seeing her and being part of it, it's awesome. Awesome.
In my in the previous life, I used to hang around with the fast boat guys.
Yeah.
And cigarette donzies.
Oh,
and
yeah, of course, multicolour, you know.
And I always, when I was hanging around with them, I was like, why are they so bright? And they're like, well, why do you want a white one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I've never looked at it that way.
Point, yeah.
Seriously.
So do you have any... I know that painting a darker colour has knock-on effects with air conditioning and heat and expansion.
That's a good pickup, yeah. It's interesting you say that because that's an obvious one for us in the industry. The darker the hull, of course, especially here in South Florida, I mean, where the ambient temperatures outside go through the roof. So, yes, of course, all of the AC has been uprated to sort of cater for the different colour in the hull. It's not something a lot of people outside the industry would pick up on it, so I'm surprised to even hear you say that, but it's very true. We expect, we picked it up, I believe, in the build it was about 35 or 40% over what it would normally be spec'd at, just to cater for the extra heat being radiated from the UV on the hull colour, yeah.
Right, and the boat's here, or is it?
Yeah, we're here in Miami, yeah.
So you live here now?
Well, I'm full-time on board the vessel. I'm a master and commander, as they say, along with all of my crew.
I haven't given you my card yet, have I?
No, I haven't.
That's what I am. I just don't have a boat to
Russell Crowe and I go back a long way, seriously, I got to tell you. But,
have you met him?
Yeah, I have actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Is he... You know you should never meet your heroes.
No, he's not a bad dude, actually. I think people get misjudged in the media, not just generally in the media. They get portrayed as being perhaps someone that they're not, and they're taken literally on the words that they speak, not necessarily who they are or who they portray themselves as. So, no, Russell is a wordsmith, he's a wonderful actor, what have you, he's compassionate, he's got a great sense of humour. Sure, he's rubbed some people up the wrong way, but hey, perhaps they needed to be rubbed the wrong way.
His best film ever was The Next 3 Days.
I don't know if I'm even familiar with that
so
one.
It was... Anyway, Next 3 Days. His wife gets wrongly accused of a crime. She has to spend time in prison. Yeah. And he decides that that's not the way it's going to be, so he breaks her out.
I can see where that'd go.
It's the most riveting... I mean, Gladiator and all, that's great, but The Next 3 Days, awesome. So how did you get into being a captain?
long story cut short, always been around boats. Started on little fishing boats.
The Australian lifestyle is very outdoorsy, isn't it?
It's very outdoorsy. I mean, Australia, by nature, very big desert in the middle, so very small population compared to here. What are we, 25 million in the whole country at the moment, same size as the US. It's got over 300 million, so it's very small. But just don't tell the Chinese.
Yeah, why is your immigration policy so damn tight?
It's interesting. I'm ashamed to say it hasn't been over good. They tend to be over officious in all the wrong departments in Australia. I mean, it's a wonderful country to grow up in, but it's changing. Everything is evolving. I mean, this generation is a transitional generation, and all these changes are going to be seen in the next generation.
So you're going through like prime ministers every other week, aren't you?
Well, usually we get the whole cycle, the 10-year cycle of government. Australia's very renowned for tall poppy syndrome, where we always support the underdog, the little battler, the struggler, and we'll hold them and put them up until they get up here. But as soon as they start to reach this greatness, it's just an Australian tradition. We chop them off at the knees, just to remind them where they come from in the first place.
That's a very British trait.
It is a very British trait, and that is alive and well in Australia. So that's what we usually find with our politicians. We will put them into power, and they'll run for their 6-7 years, and then the country will get disillusioned with them because the country's not performing as it should. They didn't perform as they should. They got a little bit too big for their boots, so they chop them off, bring in the next guys for another 10 years, and it's just been the way it works. That's a funny place. But as I said, the world's going through a whole big change at the moment. Worldwide, we've made a big change to everything. Everyone is an expert. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is an expert on everything they shouldn't even know anything about. I had a conversation with my engineer on the boat just today, talking about the very same thing. He's got 2 young children that are growing up in South Florida. He lives in Delray Beach, and the fact that what they have access to, being 8 and 10-year-olds, it's amazing compared to what I did when I was growing up. And I think, we get to a stage where we tend to lose our identity because we're trying to be someone that we're not through all of these images that are being sort of put onto us sort of through the media and how we're supposedly portrayed to be.
It's quite nice that we're all aware of this now. We're becoming more aware of the problems it's causing. Because you're echoing the sentiment that unless they did a talk in it, we interviewed another guy half an hour ago who said exactly the same thing.
Really? Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know whether it's just because we tend to see it in the circles that we move in or whatever. I really don't know, but it's just an observation that just generally I see in the world. I have a big thing in my life. I have a lot of friends and a lot of associates and whatever, but I grew up a very large family, eldest son, so I was always my mother's little man, and it's just the way that I grew up. So I was taught to be that type of person. But I'm in an industry at the moment where I deal with millionaires and billionaires on a daily basis. And I have a daughter, and she was born on my birthday 27 years ago, and she is a very, very well-educated young lady. She's married to another gentleman from Toronto, Canada. He is incredibly educated, was going to be a doctor, and they live in a mud hut in Uganda. It's just 30 miles south of South Sudan, and they do humanitarian work over there. They've been over there 3.5 years, and every other week they get malaria. Franson's just got over typhoid, this sort of thing. And so I get a message from her and says, your daughter looks like she's tested positive for typhoid again. And then within half an hour, I'm getting a message from owner of a boat pertaining to, why was there a speck of dirt on my, I deal with this crazy balance of lives in my life. And it's interesting. It's interesting, I'll tell you.
So you were just saying 5 minutes ago how you got into the industry. You were a fisherman.
Yeah, I was a builder, I was a contractor, but a surfer. I loved surf, I was surf fishing. A friend of mine had a charter company, and he was going into college to do some more classes so he could get bigger licenses. And I had a ticket to actually be a captain, like on smaller boats at the time. This is many years ago. And he was telling me one day, he said, look, I'm having trouble, getting someone to come on to look after while I'm away.
Is this what you guys call tinnies?
Oh no, well it was a fiberglass boat back then, but we used to go out of river mouths, shallow river mouths, so coastal bars, all that sort of thing. Take up to 12 people out at a time, fishing, diving, that sort of thing. So I did, and I filled in for him, and I really got hooked on it. And I was having, at the time, I was having a bit of hiatus from the building construction, because back in that time, Australia had just been through a big recession, much the same as the US had been in 2007, 2008. And I was just having a reassess of, what I was doing, where my direction was going. And I was going to get back again into the construction side, but it's funny, call it the little change of life along the way or what, but I just decided to stay in this poor paying lifestyle, but having an amazing time with all these people. I mean, I was working 300 days a year, just taking these people out and watching these people just have fun. And they give me a pat on the back at the end of the day, shaking my hand, best day ever, all of this. And I've gone, wow, perhaps I've got, I need to have a reassessment of where I'm going with this. So do I want to be happy, or I want to make a lot of money? Preferably both, but so that's where it led from there. So then I started to get into bigger boats. Then I went commercial fishing and got my commercial fishing license, which led to bigger boats. Then when it was too much in the end, so it was way too much, so I got out of that. But then a local company in Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast where I come from, had one boat specially built to do extended charters out into the Coral Sea, into the Pacific Ocean. To do
extended charter?
Well, this was fishing, diving, 10 days, 2 weeks, fully provisioned. Take 12 guests out at a time with a full crew on board. We had snap freezers and everything. So there was these locations the boat had been going to before, and the owner of the company asked me. He said, well, I was working for a company at the time that was an award-winning company, won many tourism awards for Noosa, where I live. And this guy had commercial people working for him that were very good at what they did, but didn't have the people thing going on. So he come to see me and asked me if I wanted to go out for a free trip. I said, what are you doing that for? He said, oh man, I just want you to see so you can compare your company to mine. So of course, at the end of it, he came up to me and I got back up 6 days. And he said, so what did you think? I said, fantastic. I said, it's just brilliant. He said, well, the boat's going back out in 3 days. I'd like you to take it out. And I go, oh, I see this works. So I had a bit of time. So what the hell? So I did, and that started the whole thing. So I find myself sitting 200 or 300 mile off the coast of Australia in the little archipelago, this isolated coral reef setup. People, it was fishing like Jurassic Park. I mean, whatever you wanted to catch, I could take you and you would catch it. Dogtooth tuna, yellowfin tuna, coral trout like as big as a wheelbarrow, whatever. We get 1.5 tons of fish in 6 days, just with amateur fishermen. It was crazy, crazy. So I was out there one trip, and there was we're coming out of this little place called Wreck Reef, and again, very shallow, bit dangerous to get into, I guess, if you don't know it. And there was a yacht came along to the north, and it had been blowing 30, 35 knots for days, but it's a little bit of protection in there, so that's why we were in there. And this guy called me up on the radio, VHF, and so I knew he was close because VHF radio is line of sight. So if you can see the aerial, you can talk. So, depending on how high your aerial, so most days, 15 to 25 miles, and so. But I could see him sort of off in the distance, so he called me and he said, is there somewhere safe where we could anchor? We've been taking a beating coming across the Pacific and looking for safe anchorage for the night. And so we're talking, we're coming out, and he's coming down like this, and what it was 120, 130 foot motor yacht. And he's come down, he crossed across, and he come down my side. And I told him where to go and wave, and I'm looking at him. Oh man, I've seen these in the pictures, but I've never really seen one this close before. So I told him where he could anchor up, out 20 miles out to the west. It just happened to be where I was going that evening. So sure enough, I pulled in that evening, and he thanked me and said, look, after dinner, please feel free, come across, I'll give you a tour of the boat. So I did, and anyway,
You were ruined.
I was totally ruined. I said, so how the hell did you get a job running this boat like this? They just come across from Vancouver or somewhere, across the Pacific on their way to Malaysia. And he said, well, dropped that story like Fort Lauderdale, Antigua, Palma, Mallorca, Ontario. Started dropping all these names. And of course I go, wow. And I said, well, how do you think I go getting into this? And he said, you're crazy. You're bringing this out here like this. You walk into it. And I've gone, oh. So that's, I think it was, what was that, October. 4 months later, I was on a plane flying to Fort Lauderdale.
For the show?
Woo.
Walk in the docks and got a job.
Yeah, I ran into someone and that was it. And yeah, I wasn't supposed to be here to work because, I mean, you can't do that, like legally. That's not...
You could be seeking employment.
No, you can't. You can't
You just can't accept it.
You can't mention the word work at all because I wasn't a US citizen, so for all intents and purposes, back in that day, this is 20 odd years ago, I really was doing the wrong thing, but it was.
This is 20 years ago.
Yeah, this is an unwritten law that people used to do it. This day and age, current politics and everything, you're not supposed to come here to look for work. They will find you. They will get you out of the country.
So this is Fort Lauderdale 20 years ago. What was the show like then?
Sorry?
Well, the show was much smaller then, right?
There's still a lot of boats. I mean, to see it walk down along a 150-foot boat, which is just here, like, wow, it was something else. So anyway, I initially got a job working for some people from North Carolina, and then the rest was history. That was just word of mouth. I sort of went from being one job to another job, but it was all offshore, going down the Caribbean and back, and going everywhere. That was just the start of it. I just come to look for a couple of months, and that was it. So, and then I found everybody. I had good licenses, but back then everyone wanted these M.C.A. licenses, like YachtMaster licenses, where mine were commercial licenses. So at the time, I didn't understand, but the importance behind it. But yacht licenses are specific because you need to have a knowledge. You can drive the hell out of a boat, but if you don't understand how yachting works, it's a different animal altogether.
Let's see your hands.
Yeah. Yeah, calluses from the guitar. Aside from that, no, I don't work hard, man.
It's still soft.
It's all in here. It's all in here. So
yeah.
But,
it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, same.
And so the boat you're on now is being sold, or it's being?
No, it's a new boat.
That's right. It's the red one.
It's brand new. Where the boat will be based out of South Florida, I think, through the coming 3 or 4 months.
So what, you're going to move from Australia back here? You'll move from Australia back here?
I've lived all over the world. Australia is my home. I'm an Australian passport holder, but I've worked on foreign flag vessels for the last 20 years.
Blimey. So do you have a home?
My girlfriend has a home in Orlando, Florida. So, and you might say, you don't go to Florida, but it's like, yeah, I could say that I've lived on and off in Fort Lauderdale for years, a lot of years, but I'm always on the go. I'm always going somewhere, whether it's Europe or wherever.
And that keeps you young, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not that old. Anyway.
I think it's our
absolute pleasure. Same. Thanks for listening to my story.
Yeah.
So I always entertain my crew as well as I get started. So